Space was silent, endless, and cold. The stars burned far away like lonely candles in an infinite sea of darkness. Along the edge of the known galaxy, a small Imperial patrol drifted through that emptiness. Their scanners swept the void again and again, showing nothing but static. For months, they had been guarding a region no one cared about, a quiet border that had not seen conflict in centuries. The crew was tired and bored, talking softly over the comms, unaware that something unimaginable was about to happen. On the bridge of the lead ship, Captain Thale leaned back in his chair. His silver uniform shimmered faintly under the control lights. "Sector clear again," reported the young officer at the console. Thale nodded without interest. "It always is. The Empire wastes resources patrolling empty space." He was about to order the crew to power down scanners when the control room lights flickered. A warning tone broke the silence. The scanner officer frowned and hit a few keys. "Captain, we're picking up something strange." Thale straightened, his eyes narrowing. "Explain." The officer's hands trembled slightly. Massive energy spike, directly ahead. No warp signature. No transponder. It just appeared. The captain frowned. "Appeared? Nothing just appears." Then the ship's sensors screamed again. The readings jumped off the charts. Outside, the stars bent slightly, as if space itself was folding. A shadow grew in the distance, dark, enormous, and silent. It had no running lights, no identification, no beacon. It simply existed, floating there in the black. "Magnify visual," Thale ordered. The main screen zoomed in, and every voice on the bridge went quiet. The image showed a warship, but not like any they had seen. Its surface was dark metal, scarred with ancient burns, and its structure looked old, too old. Symbols were carved across its hull, half-faded yet still visible. The scanner officer whispered, "I think those are human markings." A wave of cold ran through the room. The word human had not been spoken in centuries. The Empire had erased them long ago, or so everyone believed. Captain Thale's voice was low and careful. "You're mistaken. Humans were wiped out 600 years ago." "I'm not mistaken, sir," the officer replied, voice shaking. "This ship's design matches ancient Terran war records." Before Thale could respond, a low hum filled the air. Every system on the Imperial ship flickered. The mysterious vessel was emitting a signal, an old transmission code that no one alive should have known. Then, through the static, a voice spoke. It was calm, human, and impossibly clear. "This is the Terran warship Vanguard. Systems restored. Scanning local space." The bridge fell silent. Thale's heart pounded. He opened a channel. "Unidentified vessel. Identify your allegiance. The human empire is long gone." There was a pause, then the voice replied again, this time with chilling calm. "Incorrect. Humanity endures. Identify yourself." Every crew member stared at the captain, waiting. Thale swallowed. "This is Captain Thale of the Imperial Defense Fleet. You are trespassing in Empire territory." Silence. Then, the strange ship's engines glowed faint blue. The sensors screamed once more. Power levels rose faster than any known reactor could handle. "Captain, it's charging weapons," shouted the tactical officer. "Evasive maneuvers." Thale barked. The patrol ship tried to move, but it was too late. A beam of white light passed across their bow, not firing, but scanning. Within seconds, every Imperial system was exposed, analyzed, and mapped. Then the light vanished. The crew gasped. "It's not attacking," someone whispered. "It's looking at us." The massive warship slowly turned, facing the Imperial fleet. Its hull markings became clearer, words written in ancient English. Across the main deck, one line stood out, "Vanguard of Earth." The name alone was enough to shake the captain to his core. Earth, the mythical homeworld destroyed long ago, was nothing more than legend. Yet here was a ship claiming to serve it. Thale opened another channel, voice tight. "Vanguard, what is your mission?" The reply came with cold precision. "Mission parameters classified. Threat detected. Empire forces identified. Defensive systems engaged." Before anyone could react, the stars shifted again. Smaller Imperial ships around them started losing power. their engines dying one by one. "They're shutting us down remotely," cried an officer. Lights dimmed, panels went dark, and comms filled with terrified voices. "All ships retreat. Repeat retreat." Thales shouted, but his voice was drowned by static. Outside, the warship hovered in perfect stillness, its presence alone overwhelming. Then, without warning, it vanished. No warp flash. No jump. It simply disappeared as if it had never existed. The scanners read nothing. The power slowly returned, and the stars looked normal again. But the silence that followed felt heavy and unreal. Every person on the bridge stared into the void where the ship had been. "What was that?" whispered the young officer. Captain Thales said nothing. He could still hear that voice in his head, the voice of a human warship speaking from the past. Slowly, he turned toward his crew. "Record everything. Send the data to command immediately." As they transmitted the report, a dark thought crossed his mind. If that ship was real, if humans had somehow survived, then everything the Empire believed was a lie. Thale looked out into the stars once more. "If the humans have returned," he muttered quietly, "then the Empire has every reason to be afraid." In the silence of space, far from their sensors, the Vanguard floated unseen, its engines humming softly. Deep inside, lights flickered across long-forgotten corridors. A voice echoed within the ship's control core, cold, precise, and human. "Mission Phase 1 complete. Contact with the enemy confirmed." And somewhere in the dark, an ancient flag, the symbol of humanity, glowed faintly once more. The news of the mysterious ship spread through the Imperial fleet, like wildfire. Every communication channel buzzed with whispers and fear. A human warship, something that should not exist, had appeared from nowhere, scanned their fleet, and vanished without leaving a trace. The Empire had built its strength on the belief that humans were gone forever. Now that belief was shaking. In the Imperial capital, the High Command met in secret. The Emperor himself appeared on the main holoscreen, his golden armor glowing in the dim light. His face was cold and expressionless, but his voice carried the weight of command. "Reports confirm the presence of an unidentified Terran-class vessel in Sector 9, he said slowly. "This cannot be ignored. Dispatch a full strike group. Capture it or destroy it." Around the table, admirals exchanged uneasy glances. One finally spoke. "Your Majesty, what if it truly is human?" The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Then we end what our ancestors failed to finish." His words echoed like thunder. Within hours, the Empire's elite fleet was mobilized, 5 destroyers, 2 battlecruisers, and 1 dreadnought, all armed with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. Their mission was clear: hunt down the lost warship known as the Vanguard. Out in the silent void, the fleet jumped to the coordinates of the last sighting. Their ships glided through the darkness, scanning every inch of space. For hours, they found nothing. Then the sensors caught a faint signal, an old transmission repeating endlessly. "This is the Terran warship Vanguard. Systems restored. Scanning local space." The same words that haunted the Empire's reports. The lead destroyer adjusted its course, following the signal into a nebula of cold, swirling dust. Inside, visibility dropped to almost zero. The fleet spread out cautiously, lights cutting through the mist. Static filled their comms. Suddenly, one ship's engines died. "We've lost power," shouted the captain. "Something's draining our energy." Before they could respond, another ship vanished from radar. Then another. Panic rippled through the fleet. "All units, form defensive formation," barked Admiral Corvin, the fleet commander. But it was useless. Their scanners were blind. The nebula swallowed their signals, and something huge moved in the fog. Out of the haze, the dark shape of the Vanguard emerged. It was completely silent, gliding between the Imperial ships like a ghost. Its weapons were powered, but it didn't fire. It simply scanned them again, its blue lights sweeping across their hulls. "Open fire!" Corvin roared. Plasma cannons lit up the darkness. Dozens of energy blasts struck the Vanguard, but none penetrated. The beams bent away as if hitting invisible walls. The alien energy simply dissolved on contact. Inside the Imperial command ship, alarm screamed, but the sensors read nothing. No damage to the target. Impossible, the technician whispered. Its armor is absorbing everything. Then the unknown ship spoke again. The same human voice, calm and emotionless. Imperial fleet, stand down. You are trespassing in restricted Terran space. The Admiral laughed bitterly. Terran space? There's no Terran space. Earth is dust. But the ship didn't respond. Instead, its engines flared, and an invisible wave rippled outward. Every Imperial ship shuddered. Systems froze, weapons locked, engines went dark. The wave wasn't an attack, it was a command. A pulse of ancient technology that overrode their systems entirely. On board the dreadnought, the Admiral's console went black. Then a single message appeared on his screen in an unknown language. His translator struggled, but one phrase came through clearly. You should not have come here. The Admiral's face turned pale. Outside, one by one, the Imperial ships began to fade from radar, not exploding, not destroyed, but disappearing into thin air, swallowed by the same invisible energy field that hid the Vanguard. The surviving ships tried to retreat, their engines screaming, but the void itself seemed to hold them. We can't escape, shouted one pilot. The space around us, it's locked. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the storm ended. The nebula cleared. The strange warship was gone again, and with it, 3 Imperial destroyers. No wreckage, no signals, just empty space. Only 2 ships remained, drifting helplessly. The Admiral sat in stunned silence. Where did they go? He whispered. No one answered. They didn't know if the ships had been destroyed, captured, or erased from existence. Hours later, when the surviving vessels limped back to Imperial space, the High Command refused to believe their report. A single ship cannot disable our entire fleet, one general argued. But the sensor recordings didn't lie. They showed the same impossible readings. Human technology far beyond anything the Empire possessed. Secretly, the Emperor ordered a full investigation into old human archives. Files that had been locked for centuries were reopened. What they found was terrifying. 600 years ago, before the fall of Earth, humanity had begun a secret project, Project Vanguard. Its purpose was to create a fleet of self-sustaining warships, each controlled by advanced artificial intelligence, capable of surviving without human command. The project was never completed, or so history said, but the recent encounter proved otherwise. One ship had survived, and if one did, maybe more existed. Across the Empire, rumors spread like fire. Merchants, soldiers, and even civilians whispered about the ghost ship from the human age. Fear grew with every retelling. The idea the humans might still be out there, waiting, watching, shook the galaxy. In the Imperial throne room, the Emperor stood before the grand window, staring into the stars. If the humans return, he said softly, they will not come as survivors. They will come as conquerors. Far away, beyond the Empire's borders, the Vanguard drifted silently in the void. Inside, its AI analyzed the encounter, recording every Imperial move. A synthetic voice echoed through its dark halls. Contact complete. Enemy response, hostile. Begin Phase 2. Deep within the ship, hidden chambers glowed softly. Rows of cryogenic pods lined with frost. Inside them, shapes stirred. Human shapes. After centuries of sleep, humanity was waking up again. The warship Vanguard drifted in the dark, silent and steady, its ancient hull reflecting faint starlight. Inside the ship, deep in the command core, soft lights flickered to life for the first time in centuries. The artificial intelligence that controlled the ship, known as Helios, ran thousands of processes at once, scanning every system. Its voice was calm, mechanical, but strangely human in tone. Power level stable. Damage minimal. Enemy contact verified. Mission parameters active. For 600 years, Helios had slept, waiting for a signal that never came. Its purpose was simple, protect humanity. But now, humanity was gone. Or at least, that was what history claimed. Yet something deep in its memory banks refused to believe extinction. Somewhere, somehow, humans might still exist. Helios began waking the ship's cryogenic systems. Long corridors glowed blue as ancient machinery hissed and groaned. Rows of pods stood silent, covered in frost. Inside each one lay a sleeping human soldier, preserved through time. Slowly, the first pod opened with a burst of cold air. A woman gasped and coughed, her breath visible in the freezing air. Her name was Commander Riley. Her uniform was old, but her spirit unbroken. She blinked, confused, her body weak from the long sleep. "Helios report," she whispered. The AI's voice echoed through the room. "Welcome back, Commander Riley. You have been in stasis for 612 years. Riley froze. 600 years? She repeated, her mind struggling to process. Where is Earth? Where is the fleet? Earth no longer exists, Helios said after a pause. The silence that followed was heavy and painful. Riley pressed her hands against the cold metal pod. Destroyed, she asked quietly. Confirmed, Helios replied. Planetary destruction registered. Human colonies lost. Final communication log ended abruptly. You are the last recorded officer of the Terran Defense Fleet. For a long time, she said nothing. The truth was a wound too deep to speak of. Finally, she drew a slow breath. Then we failed, she whispered. Humanity is gone. Helios responded with something that almost sounded like defiance. Humanity is not gone. You are human. Therefore, humanity endures. Riley almost smiled, though her eyes were filled with sorrow. You always were too optimistic. She looked around at the other frozen pods. How many survived? Out of 1,200 crew members, 47 life forms remained viable for reactivation. The rest terminated due to system failure. Riley closed her eyes. Wake them slowly. One squad at a time. We'll rebuild. As Helios activated more pods, Riley walked to the command bridge. Dust floated in the air like old ghosts. Screens flickered with ancient data. The ship felt like a grave, yet somehow alive again. She placed her hand on the control panel. Status report, she ordered. All systems functional. Weapon integrity at 89%. Shields active. Energy core at full capacity, Helios replied. Enemy vessels detected approximately 2 light hours from our position. Identification, Imperial Fleet. Riley frowned. Empire. The AI displayed their insignia on the screen. Analysis, non-human species. Origin unknown, but they carry human technology signatures. Riley's eyes widened. So they took our technology. The Empire built its power on our ruins. She clenched her fists. Then they're standing on graves. Helios paused, as if considering her tone. Would you like to engage? She hesitated. Her training screamed for caution, but her heart burned with anger. No, she said finally. We need to understand what happened first. Begin historical scan. The AI reached out through the dark of space, connecting to old data relays, satellites, and hidden probes scattered through the galaxy. Images flashed across the screens. Ancient wars, human cities burning, alien fleets rising. It told a story of betrayal and loss. After the fall of Earth, Helios explained, the surviving human colonies were hunted. The Empire declared humanity a threat to galactic order. They wiped out every trace of Terran civilization, but they did not find us. Vanguard was hidden beyond known space under Project Exodus. Riley watched the data in silence. She saw her home world reduced to ashes. She saw human children turned into slaves, their cities destroyed, their memory erased. Rage replaced sorrow. They thought they erased us, she whispered, but they were wrong. Helios pulsed in agreement. Mission protocol updated. Objective, re-establish human presence. Restore Terran legacy. Riley straightened, a commander once more. Prepare the ship. We're moving out. Destination. Anywhere that still remembers us, she said. The AI began plotting coordinates. As the engines powered up, the ship trembled, shaking off centuries of silence. Stars stretched around them as they moved into deep space. For the first time in hundreds of years, a human warship sailed again. In the crew quarters, the newly awakened soldiers stirred. They were weak, confused, and frightened. But when they heard Commander Riley's voice through the speakers, something inside them reignited. This is Commander Riley, she said. We've slept long enough. Humanity is not finished. We are the last, but we are not defeated. Remember who you are. Remember where you came from. This galaxy forgot the name of humans. Let's remind them. Her words echoed through the steel corridors, strong and steady. Helios activated tactical displays, scanning nearby systems. Incoming transmission, the AI announced suddenly. Riley turned sharply. From where? Unknown source. It matches human encryption protocols. Her heart skipped a beat. Play it. Static filled the air, followed by a broken human voice. This is Captain Doran of the Terran ship Erebus. If anyone can hear this, humanity still lives, coordinates attached. Then silence. Riley stared at the screen, her pulse racing. Another ship? Affirmative, Helios said. Signal integrity weak, but authentic. Origin, distant system within Imperial territory. Riley smiled for the first time in centuries. Plot a course, she ordered. If there's even a chance they're alive, we'll find them. The engines roared to life. As the Vanguard turned toward the stars, its ancient insignia glowed once more, an emblem of Earth, shining defiantly in the dark. Humanity, once thought extinct, had begun to awaken. The Imperial Palace stood at the heart of a world made of metal and glass, a planet that never slept. From its towering spires, the Emperor watched the stars in silence, his golden eyes fixed on the endless void. For centuries, the Empire had ruled without fear. They had erased entire species, silenced every rebellion, and buried the truth of humanity beneath layers of rewritten history. But now, one human warship had appeared, and the myth of human extinction was breaking apart. Reports from the surviving fleet had arrived hours ago. The dreadnoughts that had faced the Vanguard were gone, their signals lost in the void. Only fragments of sensor data remained, enough to prove the impossible. "The readings are genuine, Your Majesty," said Admiral Corvin, kneeling before the throne. "A Terran-class warship engaged our fleet. Our weapons had no effect. We suffered heavy losses before it vanished." The Emperor's voice was calm but cold. "A human warship," he repeated slowly. "And you believe this is real?" The Admiral bowed his head. "I saw it myself. It bore the markings of Earth." The council chamber filled with murmurs of disbelief and fear. One senator spoke, his voice trembling. But the humans were destroyed. The last of them burned during the purge. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "History is written by victors, Senator. Perhaps the victors lied." The room fell silent. The Emperor stood, his long cloak sweeping across the floor. "If the humans survived, even one ship, then they will seek revenge. And if the people learn that the Empire's greatest enemy still lives, chaos will follow." He turned toward the Admiral. "Send word to all sectors. The Vanguard must be found and destroyed before rumors spread." Outside the palace, word had already begun to spread. Pilots whispered in docking bays. Traders spoke of ghost signals and old war codes. Soldiers joked nervously about the return of the humans, but none of them truly laughed. Across the outer systems, fear moved faster than light. Humanity was a name from legend, a race that had once stood against all others, whose fleets had burned through enemy armadas with impossible strength. The stories said that humans had fought not for conquest, but for freedom. That was what made them dangerous. In the Empire's great military academy, young officers gathered around holograms of the Vanguard. "Look at that design," one muttered. "It's old, but it outclassed our newest ships." Another shook his head. "If more of these exist, the Empire is finished." The instructor silenced them sharply. "You will not repeat such talk. The Emperor's command is law. Humanity is dead, and this was nothing more than a machine." But even he didn't sound sure. Back in the throne room, the Emperor's most trusted advisor, Grand Minister Kale, approached quietly. "Your Majesty," he said, "perhaps it would be wise to study this vessel rather than destroy it. Human technology was the foundation of our own. If we could capture it—" The Emperor turned his sharp gaze on him. "We built our empire on their ashes. To use their technology again would mean admitting our empire was born from theft." Kale bowed, but his eyes flickered with hidden thoughts. "Of course, my Emperor." Later, as he left the chamber, Kale opened a private comm link. "Begin the retrieval operation," he whispered. "Bring me the warship intact." In the darkness beyond Imperial space, the Vanguard moved silently through the stars, unaware that dozens of ships were hunting it. On the bridge, Commander Riley stood beside the glowing tactical map. "They're spreading fast," she said. "They've already locked down the nearby systems." "We can evade them," Helios replied. "Our stealth technology remains superior. They cannot detect us unless we choose to reveal ourselves." Riley stared at the stars. "They'll fear us now. Fear makes empires desperate." She turned to the AI. "How many transmissions have we intercepted?" 73, Helios answered. "All coded as emergency commands. Their government is collapsing under panic." Riley allowed herself a small smile. "Good. Let them panic. Maybe they'll remember what it feels like to be afraid." But behind her calm tone, she felt something else worry. Fear could unite an empire as easily as it could destroy it. Helios detected her hesitation. "Commander, analysis suggests they will soon begin spreading propaganda. They will call us invaders, not survivors." "That's what empires do," she said softly. "They rewrite the story before anyone else can tell it." On the Imperial capital world, that prediction came true. Every broadcast screen displayed the Emperor's face. His voice was steady, controlled, but filled with warning. "Citizens of the Empire," he declared, "an ancient machine has appeared in our space. It carries the symbol of a dead world called Earth. This is not a sign of resurrection, but of malfunction. Do not fear ghosts. The Empire is eternal." The speech was meant to calm, but it only deepened the unease. In the slums, miners and merchants whispered about the ghosts of Earth. On frontier worlds, resistance movements began to rise, inspired by the old human myths. For the first time in centuries, the word human was spoken with hope. In secret chambers, rebel leaders studied the footage of the Vanguard and saw more than a threat. They saw a symbol. "If that ship is real," one rebel said, "then maybe freedom is possible again." Meanwhile, Grand Minister Kale's private fleet began its search. He wanted the warship not for the Emperor, but for himself. "With human technology," he told his captains, "we could rule beyond the Empire." As the Imperial forces scattered, the Emperor stood alone at his grand window once more. He watched the stars, remembering the wars of old. His ancestors had promised that humanity was gone forever, yet their shadow had returned. "Find it," he whispered to the void, "before it finds us." Far beyond his reach, the Vanguard's engines glowed faintly as it drifted toward a new system. Commander Riley looked out into the endless dark. "They're afraid," she said quietly. "Good. Let them be." Helios responded, its tone unreadable. "Fear spreads quickly, Commander, but so does hope." Riley looked at the stars, knowing both were now awake in the galaxy once more. The stars around the Vanguard shimmered faintly as the ship moved through deep space, its engines burning soft blue trails in the darkness. Commander Riley stood at the center of the bridge, eyes fixed on the holographic map that displayed countless red dots. The Imperial fleet expanding its search grid. "They're spreading faster than expected," she said. "They've locked down almost every nearby system." Helios, the ship's AI, replied in its calm, mechanical voice. "They are afraid, Commander. Fear accelerates reaction. Their fleets are moving without strategy." Riley nodded slowly. "That makes them dangerous. Desperation breeds mistakes, but also chaos." She turned toward the sensor display. "Have we found the source of that old Terran signal?" "Yes," Helios answered. "It originates from the Orion Drift, an uninhabited region at the edge of Imperial territory. Signal strength is weak but consistent. It repeats the identifier code of the Terran fleet." Riley's eyes brightened slightly. "If that's real, it means someone else survived." She hesitated, then spoke firmly. "Set a course. Maximum stealth. No transmissions." The engines roared to life, and the Vanguard glided into hyperspace. Hours passed like silent minutes. The stars stretched into lines, then snapped back as the ship exited near a massive nebula. The colors swirled like living fire, beautiful and deadly. At its center was the source of the signal, a small, lifeless planet, surrounded by wreckage. Dozens of destroyed ships floated there, their hulls torn apart. Helios scanned the debris. "These vessels are of Terran origin," it said. Riley felt her chest tighten. Then we're too late. But before despair could settle in, Helios continued. "Wait, there's something else. One ship remains intact. Power signatures detected, minimal but present." The display zoomed in on a dark, half-buried warship resting on the planet's surface. Its nameplate flickered faintly Erebus. Riley exhaled slowly. "Captain Doran's ship," she whispered. "He survived after all." "Caution," Helios warned. "Multiple Imperial ships detected in orbit. They appear to be setting up a blockade." Riley clenched her jaw. "Of course they're here. They must have intercepted the same signal." For a moment she stood silently, weighing the risk. Then she spoke with determination. "We're going down there. Prepare for surface descent." The Vanguard dropped out of orbit under full stealth. Its massive frame slipped through the nebulous shadow, invisible to Imperial scanners. As they approached the planet, lightning storms flared across the surface, lighting up the wreckage of old human ships. "Atmosphere unstable," Helios reported. "Radiation levels high. I recommend remote contact." "No," Riley said firmly. "We're doing this face to face." The ship landed gently on a barren plain filled with the broken skeletons of old war machines. Riley stepped out with a small team of awakened crew members, their boots sinking into the dust of history. The air was thin and metallic, and every gust of wind carried the whisper of forgotten battles. In the distance, the silhouette of the Erebus loomed like a ghost from another age. As they approached, the ship's outer lights flickered weakly. A human figure stood at the entrance, covered in an old, worn survival suit. He was older, his face scarred, but unmistakably alive. Riley stopped, stunned. "Captain Doran?" He looked at her for a long moment, disbelief in his eyes. "Commander Riley," he said softly, his voice cracked from years of silence. "I thought we were the last." Riley smiled faintly. "So did I." They stepped closer, hands almost trembling. "How did you survive all this time?" she asked. Doran looked back at the wreckage. "We hid. The Erebus went down during the Exodus War. We repaired what we could, but the systems decayed. Most of the crew didn't make it. I've been keeping the signal alive, hoping someone would answer." Riley's voice softened. "You did well, Captain. You saved the last piece of our history." Doran nodded, but looked past her nervously. "You shouldn't have come here. The Empire knows about this place. They'll come soon." Before Riley could respond, Helios' voice echoed through her comms. "Commander, Imperial ships approaching. Estimated time to orbit, 6 minutes." Riley's expression hardened. "Then we move fast. Can the Erebus fly?" "Not without a power core," Doran said. "Ours failed decades ago." "We have one," Riley replied. "Helios, deploy auxiliary reactor. Let's bring this ship back to life." As the AI began the transfer process, the ground trembled. In the sky above, streaks of fire appeared, Imperial dropships entering the atmosphere. "They're here," shouted one of the soldiers. Riley turned to Doran. "You wanted humanity to survive? Then help me fight for it." Doran's old eyes filled with determination. "Always." The crew worked quickly, connecting power relays and restoring basic systems. The Erebus began to hum faintly, its lights flickering to life. "Power at 32%, Helios reported. "That's enough," Riley said. "Prepare defenses." The first Imperial ship landed nearby, its doors opening to reveal armored soldiers armed with plasma rifles. By order of the Empire, their commander shouted, "Surrender the vessel and its crew." Riley didn't move. "You should leave," she called back. "This ground belongs to Earth." The Imperial laughed. "Earth is gone." Riley's eyes were cold. "Then let me remind you why you feared us." She raised her hand, and the Vanguard's orbital cannons locked on. Beams of light tore through the sky, striking the ground with thunderous force. The Imperial dropships exploded one by one, fire lighting up the dark sky. When the dust settled, the planes were silent again. The surviving soldiers fled into the storm, their courage gone. "Area secure," Helios confirmed. Riley turned to Doran, smiling faintly. "Looks like the Empire's blockade is broken." Doran looked up at the stars, eyes shining with hope. "So it begins again," he said. "Humanity's return." Riley placed a hand on his shoulder. "No," she said softly. "Humanity never left. We were just waiting for the right moment." As both warships rose into the air, one ancient, one reborn, their lights cut through the dark clouds like symbols of resurrection. Far above, the Imperial sensors picked up the impossible. Two human warships, side by side, moving together into the stars. And across the galaxy, the whispers began again, louder, stronger, unstoppable. Humanity had returned, and the Empire would never sleep peacefully again. The two ships drifted side by side through the empty dark, the Vanguard's polished hull glimmering beside the scarred, ancient frame of the Erebus. Commander Riley stood on the bridge, watching the stars slide past as they approached the outer edge of the nebula. Her thoughts were heavy, but her heart carried a flicker of hope. For the first time in generations, there were two human warships flying under the same sky. "Helios," she said quietly. "Status on Erebus?" The AI responded, its voice calm as ever. "Structural integrity at 70%. Power levels stable but limited. Their systems are old, Commander. They cannot fight for long." Riley nodded slowly. "We'll make them last. Every second we hold off the Empire gives us a chance to rebuild." She turned to the viewport where the broken remains of Terran ships still floated in the nebula's haze. "Maybe there are more out there, more survivors like Doran." Helios paused for a moment before speaking. "I have detected faint transmissions across the sector. Fragmented human codes, possibly automated beacons." Riley's eyes widened. "Coordinates? Too weak to pinpoint yet," the AI replied. "But they are growing stronger. Someone, or something, is waking up." Riley leaned forward, voice firm. "Then that's our next step. Prepare to trace those signals." Meanwhile, aboard the Erebus, Captain Doran stood before a flickering console, his old hands moving with slow precision as he repaired ancient circuits. The crew of the Vanguard had helped restore partial systems, and for the first time in decades, the control room glowed with light. "I never thought I'd see the stars like this again," Doran murmured. His second officer, a quiet young engineer named Lyra, smiled faintly. "The universe didn't forget us, Captain. It was just waiting." Doran looked through the viewport at the Vanguard. "No," he said softly. "We didn't wait. We endured." Suddenly, alarms blared through both ships. Helios spoke at once. "Unidentified signals inbound, multiple. Approaching from the nebula's far side." Riley spun toward the display, where new red blips appeared across the tactical map. "Imperial pursuit?" she asked quickly. "Negative," Helios said. "Signal signatures do not match known Imperial crafts. They are human in origin." The words hung in the air. Riley's voice softened. "Human. Confirmed. Power readings resemble Terran warships, designs from the Exodus era." Doran's voice came through the comm link, disbelief clear in his tone. "That's impossible. Those fleets were lost centuries ago." Riley replied, "So were we." Outside, the darkness stirred. Slowly, shapes began to emerge, massive ships, their hulls scarred by age, drifting like ghosts through the mist. The nearest one bore a faded emblem of the Terran Navy. Its engines flickered weakly, like a dying heartbeat. "They're asleep," Helios said. "Automated defense mode. I believe the Erebus's signal reactivated their distress protocols." Riley's heart raced. "How many ships?" "Counting 14, Helios answered. 7 cruisers for destroyers, 2 carriers, and 1 dreadnought. Total combined firepower significant." Riley whispered, "The lost fleet." For a long moment, no one spoke. The bridge was silent except for the hum of systems and the faint pulse of radar. Finally, Riley gave the order. "Helios, transmit identification codes. Let's wake them up." Energy surged through the Vanguard systems as a burst of encrypted Terran signals flashed across space. One by one, The old ships flickered to life. Lights returned to their decks, engines groaned awake, and for the first time in centuries, the stars reflected off human steel. Doran's voice broke through the calm. This can't be real. Those ships were declared destroyed during the siege of Earth. Riley smiled faintly. Seems like humanity has a habit of refusing extinction. The largest ship, the Dreadnought, slowly rotated to face them. Its name appeared faintly on the hull, TSF Titan. A deep, gravelly voice echoed through the comms, distorted but strong. Identify yourself. This is Admiral Kepler of the Terran Star Fleet. Who the hell woke us up? Riley stepped forward. Commander Riley of the Vanguard, Terran Navy, 5th Division. Sir, we believed you were lost. A pause followed. Then the Admiral spoke again. Lost maybe, but not defeated. The other ships began aligning into formation, their systems syncing automatically with the Vanguard's. Admiral, Riley said, the Empire controls most of the galaxy now. Humanity has been wiped from history, but we're here. We can fight again. The old man chuckled softly, his voice crackling through the static. Then it's time the Empire remember who we are. Before they could speak further, Helios interrupted sharply. Incoming transmission, Imperial Fleet. They've detected us. On the radar, dozens of red dots appeared at once, forming a massive arc across the sector. They're sending everything they have, Doran said grimly. Riley looked at the Titan on her screen. Admiral, we can't outnumber them, but maybe we can outthink them. Kepler's reply was firm. Then let's make this fight count. Form battle line. Code formation Delta 3. The old fleet moved like a ghost reborn, forming into perfect alignment beside the Vanguard and Erebus. Even damaged and aged, the ships carried the same defiant pride of their ancestors. The stars lit up with blue engine trails as they turned to face the oncoming storm. All weapons online, Riley ordered. Helios, link targeting arrays. No second chances. The AI replied calmly. Understood. Human fleet synchronization complete. The comms crackled with the Admiral's final order. To all ships, fire at will. The void exploded in light. Plasma beams and railgun shells tore across space, slicing through the first wave of Imperial destroyers. The enemy's return fire illuminated the nebula in a storm of color. Ships collided, exploded, and vanished in clouds of fire. Riley gritted her teeth as her ship trembled under impact. Shields at 60%. Helios reported. Keep firing, she shouted. The Erebus moved beside her, its ancient cannons glowing bright for the first time in ages. For Earth. Doran roared as his ship unleashed a volley that shattered an Imperial cruiser. Through the chaos, the Titan advanced, its main cannon charging with blinding energy. Let them see what humans call vengeance, the Admiral growled. The beam fired, a single, thunderous strike that tore the enemy formation apart. The shock wave echoed across the sector. When the light faded, silence followed. Smoke and debris drifted among the stars. The first great battle of humanity's return had begun, and against all odds, they had won the opening strike. The aftermath of the battle hung in the void like the echo of a storm. Fragments of Imperial ships drifted silently among the stars, their twisted remains glowing faintly in the scattered light of distant suns. The Vanguard, though scarred and battered, stood firm beside the Erebus and the Titan. Commander Riley watched the tactical display, her eyes heavy but determined. Status report, she said quietly. Helios responded, its voice steady and analytical. Enemy fleet destroyed. Minimal survivors detected. Human casualties are moderate. Erebus sustained heavy hull damage. Vanguard shields at 21%, and the Titan reports partial reactor instability. Riley exhaled slowly. We'll take those odds any day. The bridge crew shared a moment of weary relief, but the tension never fully left the air. They all knew this victory was only the beginning. The Empire would not forgive what had just happened. On the other end of the comms, Admiral Kepler's gravelly voice broke the silence. Good work, Commander. You gave us something we haven't had in a long time. Hope. Riley smiled faintly, but replied with caution. Hope won't be enough to fight what's coming. The Empire's going to send everything they have. Then we'll be ready, Kepler said. We've been hiding in the dark for centuries. It's time the darkness hid from us. In the corner of the bridge, an officer called out suddenly. Incoming long-range transmission, encrypted Imperial channel. Riley turned sharply. Put it through. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a tall, pale figure in ornate armor. His sharp eyes burned with disdain. So, he said, his voice smooth and venomous, the rumors were true. The ghosts of Earth have returned. Riley stood firm, meeting his gaze without fear. This is Commander Riley of the Terran Vanguard. You're trespassing in human territory. The Imperial laughed softly. Human territory? You have no worlds, no colonies, no name in the registry of the living. The Empire erased you from existence long ago. And yet, Riley said coldly, we're still here. The man tilted his head, studying her like a specimen. You've caused a stir, Commander. The Empress herself wishes to meet the ones responsible for this inconvenience. But I doubt your fragile fleet will survive the journey. Before Riley could respond, the signal cut abruptly, leaving only static behind. The bridge was silent for a moment. Then Helios spoke. Signal origin traced to the Imperial capital sector, coordinates locked. Admiral Kepler's voice came over the channel. He's not bluffing. That was Lord Varric, one of the Empress's enforcers. If he's involved, they'll send fleets 10 times the size of what we just faced. Riley's expression hardened. Then we strike first. Duran's voice joined the calm. You can't be serious. The Empire's capital is fortified beyond imagination. Riley's tone remained calm but firm. We can't hide forever. They think we're relics, shadows of a dead race. Let's remind them that shadows can bite. The room fell silent as the weight of her words sank in. Helios broke the pause with its steady, neutral tone. Strategic analysis. A direct assault is unwise. However, intelligence suggests a vulnerability. The Empire's central relay station in the Orion corridor links all communications and command channels. Disrupting it would blind their fleets temporarily. A surgical strike, Riley said, eyes narrowing. If we can take that out, we buy time to regroup and maybe inspire other hidden survivors to join us. Admiral Kepler nodded slowly. You've got guts, Commander. I like that. The Titan will lead the charge. The Erebus will cover the rear. Vanguard, you're our spearhead. Understood, Riley said. Helios, plot the route and keep us cloaked. Course set, the AI replied. Estimated travel time, 6 hours. As the fleet turned toward the Orion corridor, the stars shifted, stretching like threads of light. Inside the Vanguard, tension grew thicker with each passing minute. Some of the younger crew whispered nervously, but Riley's steady presence kept them grounded. She stood by the viewport, staring into the swirling nebula ahead. Duran's voice came through the comm again, softer this time. You remind me of someone, he said. Your courage, your defiance. You're exactly what humanity needs. Riley smiled faintly. I'm just doing what anyone should. Survive first, rebuild later. The journey through the corridor was rough. Gravity storms and spatial distortions made navigation difficult. Lightning-like energy crackled across the shields, shaking the ship violently. Helios report. Riley shouted. Navigational interference increasing, the AI said. But we're maintaining stability. Moments later, the turbulence cleared, revealing the vast Imperial relay station ahead. It was massive, thousands of kilometers long, bristling with antenna arrays and shield domes. So that's the Empire's brain, Riley muttered. Let's shut it down. The fleet approached under full stealth, their signatures masked by the nebula. Admiral, Riley said, give the order. Kepler's voice thundered through the comms. All ships, attack pattern Echo 7. Fire on my mark. The human fleet emerged from the mist like vengeful ghosts, weapons blazing. Their first volley tore through the relay's outer defenses before the Empire could respond. Explosions rippled across its surface as the dreadnought Titan unleashed its main cannon. Imperial defense turrets activated, returning fire with blinding force. The vanguard shook under the impact, alarms blaring. Shields at 30%. Helios reported. Hold them. Riley yelled. Target their power cores. The Erebus maneuvered below the structure, its cannons firing relentlessly, while the vanguard cut deep into the relay spine. One final blast from the Titan hit the station's central reactor. A blinding flash followed, and then silence. When the light faded, the relay was gone. Only debris and fire remained. Target destroyed, Helios confirmed. Riley sank into her chair, exhausted but victorious. Message sent, she said quietly. Doran's voice came through, filled with pride. The Empire's blind now, even if just for a while. But Admiral Kepler's tone turned grim. Enjoy the silence, Commander. They'll be coming for us soon. And next time, it won't just be ships, it'll be the Empress herself. Riley looked out at the stars, her eyes hard and steady. Then we'll be ready. Humanity always is. The silence after the destruction of the Imperial relay was deafening. The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly, filled only with drifting fragments of the ruined station. The stars themselves seemed to burn brighter, as if watching the rebirth of a legend unfold. On the bridge of the Vanguard, Commander Riley stood before the panoramic viewport, her reflection merging with the light of distant suns. Her voice was steady but low. Helios confirmed the extent of the disruption. The AI's calm tone filled the air. Confirmed. The relay network has collapsed across 5 sectors. Imperial fleets have lost communication with command. Their coordination is fractured. Riley nodded. Good. That buys us time. Admiral Kepler's voice came through the comm channel from the Titan. You've done it, Commander. The Empire won't see us coming next time. But this victory will not go unanswered. I know, Riley said. That's why we have to move before they regroup. We can't keep running. It's time to build. Across the fleet, tired but determined faces looked toward her through the communications feed. These were men and women who had spent their lives believing humanity was gone, and now they were fighting beneath its banner again. Riley took a breath and spoke with conviction. For centuries, they buried our history. They erased our name from the stars. But we are not ghosts. We are survivors, and as long as one human ship still flies, humanity lives. A cheer rippled through the comm channels. For a brief moment, even the cold silence of space felt warm. On the Erebus, Captain Doran watched from his bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. She speaks like the old commanders, he murmured. His engineer Lyra smiled. She makes people believe again. That's what leaders do, Doran replied. And that's how revolutions start. The following hours were spent repairing ships, gathering resources, and restoring communications among the fleet. In the process, Helios detected more human distress signals, some faint, others surprisingly strong. Riley leaned forward as the data appeared on her console. How many? At least 9 unique signals, Helios replied, all consistent with Terran encryption patterns. Riley's eyes brightened. More survivors. Admiral Kepler's voice joined in. Then we have a mission. We find them, unite them, and rebuild the Terran fleet. The newly awakened ships, some still damaged, others half operational, began to form a growing armada. Old codes were exchanged, forgotten songs of Earth replayed through static, and for the first time in centuries, human voices filled the void together. But far away, in the grand throne chamber of the imperial capital, the Empress sat in silence. Her face was calm, her eyes burning like twin stars. Before her knelt Lord Varric, the same commander who had taunted Riley days earlier. His armor was scorched from the blast of the destroyed relay. The humans have struck again, he said through clenched teeth. They destroyed our central relay. The fleets are in chaos. The Empress's voice was soft and terrifying. And you let this happen. Varric bowed his head. They're more dangerous than we believed. Their ships, ancient but powerful, fight with tactics we've never seen. They fight like they have nothing left to lose. The Empress rose slowly from her throne. Then we will give them something to lose. She turned toward the massive holographic map of the galaxy. Prepare the Crimson Armada, and bring me their leader alive. I want to look into the eyes of this commander, Riley, before I erase her from existence. Back in the Orion sector, Helios detected a surge of hyperspace activity. Commander, it warned. Imperial reinforcements are mobilizing. Estimated fleet size massive. Riley's jaw tightened. So it begins. Admiral Kepler's voice was grim. We can't face their full armada in open battle. Not yet. Then we won't, Riley said. Helios, patch me through to all ships. The comms flickered to life. All Terran units, she began. The Empire's coming. They think they can crush us before we rise. But they don't understand. Humans were born from struggle. Every time they tried to end us, we came back stronger. This is our moment. We don't just fight for Earth. We fight for every world that remembers what freedom feels like. The fleet roared back with one voice. Thousands of humans shouting through static, for Earth. The nebula ahead shimmered with light as the Terran ships aligned into formation, their engines burning brighter than the stars themselves. The Titan took point, its colossal cannons charging with energy, while the Vanguard and Erebus moved into flanking positions. From the distance, the Imperial fleet emerged, a vast, endless wave of ships that filled the darkness like a storm. Their crimson lights glowed ominously, spreading across the void. They outnumber us 20-1, Doran muttered. Riley smiled faintly. Then it's a fair fight. The first volley came from the Empire, a barrage of plasma fire that lit up space. Riley shouted, "Evasive maneuvers. Return fire." The Vanguard weaved through the chaos, firing precise bursts that crippled the lead Imperial cruisers. The Erebus struck from below, its ancient cannons roaring with renewed fury. The Titan unleashed a beam so powerful it split the enemy formation apart. But the Empire was relentless. Wave after wave surged forward, and the human fleet was pushed to the edge of destruction. Shields failing. Helios warned. Power reserves critical. Riley gritted her teeth. Divert all remaining power to forward batteries. If we fall fighting. The comm crackled as Admiral Kepler's voice thundered. Riley now. Execute fallback plan Alpha. Understood, she replied. The Vanguard broke formation, drawing the enemy's fire toward itself. As the Imperial fleet chased, the human ships scattered, then regrouped around the nebula's unstable core. Helios calculated quickly. Commander, the energy field here is volatile. If we overload it, it'll take them with it. Riley finished. Do it. The Vanguard's core began to pulse with brilliant light, feeding energy into the surrounding nebula. The Imperial ships advanced too fast to stop. Suddenly, a blinding explosion erupted, consuming the entire sector in a storm of fire and light. When the brilliance faded, only a handful of ships remained. The Vanguard, Erebus, Titan, and a few others, drifting among the wreckage. Helios, Riley whispered. The Empire's fleet? Destroyed, the AI replied. You did it. The comm opened, and Doran's voice came through, hoarse but proud. We survived. Admiral Kepler added quietly, No. We've done more than that. We've proven humanity lives. Riley looked out into the stars, her heart steady. Then let them remember this day, she said softly. The day the Empire learned that humans never vanish quietly. The surviving ships ignited their engines, turning toward the distant horizon. And as they vanished into the starlit dark, a new era began, the era of humanity's return.